Once upon a time, in the city of Okpoko, there lived a woman named Benita. She was in her late 30s. She was married to a man named Mr. John Kwasili. For 10 years, their marriage has been unable to produce any children, and her husband was losing patience. One day, she stood in the kitchen washing plates when her husband stormed in and started throwing accusations at her. "Benita," he shouted, his voice booming through the walls. "What kind of useless woman are you? I married you 10 years ago. Until today, not even a child to call me father." Benita was shocked. She turned slowly, her voice breaking. "John, must you remind me every day? Do you think I don't feel the pain too? Am I God? Am I the one who gives children?" But John was unbothered. "Cut that crap, Benita. Do you know how people mock me? Do you know the pressure I face from my family? You have turned me into a laughingstock." Benita dropped the plate she was holding, and it fell on the floor and broke into pieces. Tears flowed down her cheeks, but she quickly wiped them with the edge of her wrapper. "All these years I stood by you," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I honored, respected, and adored you, even when you insulted me. Yet, nothing I do pleased you." John scorned her. "Respect? Just listen to yourself. If you respected me, my heart wouldn't be this empty. I need a child, Benita, a child." After that, he grabbed his car keys and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. The silence that followed was heartbreaking. Benita fell onto the chair, sobbing bitterly. She couldn't bear the pain anymore. She had prayed, fasted, visited hospitals, and taken herbs, but there was nothing to show. And yet, the one person who should be her source of comfort had become her greatest torment. That evening, she visited her best friend, Mabel. Mabel was a cheerful lady in her early 30s, unmarried, but always full of life. Benita runs to her whenever her home is too hot, like hellfire. Mabel has always supported Benita in trying times. Her house was Benita's escape and safe space. As Benita sat curled up on the sofa, her eyes inflamed from crying as if she suffered from Apollo, Mabel placed a steaming cup of tea in her hands. "Benny," Mabel said softly, sitting close to her, "you cannot continue like this. Every day, fight. Every night, insult. This is not marriage again. It is a dungeon." Benita sniffled, like someone who has a stuffy nose. "What am I supposed to do? John doesn't even care about me anymore. Sometimes he stays out all night, and when I ask questions, he silences me." Mabel shook her head. This is not ordinary. There is something more than the eyes cannot see. Because how can a man neglect his wife this way? There must be something wrong somewhere. I think the village people are behind this. Benita looked up, puzzled. Which one is the village people? Yes, now. Mabel leaned closer, her voice dropping. It might be a spiritual attack. I know of a pastor, Pastor Hezra. That man sees things that ordinary eyes can't. He will pray for you, deliver you, and restore your marriage. He has helped many women in this kind of situation. Benita hesitated. Mabel, I've gone to many churches before. The pastors always promise miracles, but nothing changes. Mabel held her hand firmly. This one is different, Benita. Believe me, I'll take you there this Sunday. Just pour your heart out to him. Sometimes the solution we seek is closer than we think. Benita sighed deeply, sipping the tea. An iota of hope crossed her mind. Could this pastor really help her? Could he mend her broken marriage? Little did she know that making that single decision and following Mabel's advice would change her life forever. On a Sunday morning, with the usual hustle and bustle of church bells and singing voices drifting through the neighborhood of Opoko, Mabel arrived at Benita's house, dressed in her best Ankara gown. She looked so happy, like she had won a lottery. Benita, are you ready? She called, stepping into the parlor. Benita came out of her room, wearing a plain blue wrapper and blouse. Her face still carried the traces of the fight she had had with John 2 nights before, and looked like someone whose world had collapsed. I don't think I can do this, Mabel, she mumbled. What if this pastor is fake? Mabel looked at Benita. You won't know until you try. Please, don't be skeptical about it. This might be the turning point. Hesitantly, Benita followed her. Pastor Hezra's church, God Answered by Fire Ministries, wasn't a large auditorium, but it was always filled with a large number of people. The needy, the broken, the hopeless, and the stranded. His voice sounded like thunder. His charisma was enchanting, and many women testified to his deliverance prayers. The service was intense. There was singing, clapping, and dancing, and it was more of a jamboree in a usual Pentecostal church. Benita watched quietly, feeling lost. She wasn't paying attention to the choir or preaching. All she wanted was answers. After the church service, Mabel guided Benita to Pastor Hezra's office, where he always held one-on-one consultations. Pastor Hezra was a man in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered, with a commanding presence. His eyes were sharp but welcoming, the kind that could pierce into one's soul. "Ah, Sister Mabel," he smiled warmly. "You brought a friend today." "Yes, Daddy," Mabel said respectfully. "This is my sister, Mrs. Benita Kwasili. She is going through a lot in her marriage." Benita curtsied in greeting. "Good afternoon, Pastor." "Sit down, my daughter," Pastor Hezra said to Benita, his tone unusually gentle. As soon as she sat, the tears came rolling down like a flowing stream of water. It was never her intention to cry, but once she started, she couldn't stop. She poured out everything: the quarrels, the insults, the neglect, the pain of barrenness, and the loneliness. The pastor leaned forward, nodding slowly like an agama lizard. Then he uttered, I see. The enemy has been fighting you seriously. My daughter, your marriage has been under a spiritual attack. But don't worry, God is supreme. Benita wiped her tears with the edge of her scarf. His words calmed her down, almost like medicine to her soul. Pastor, she whispered, I just want peace. I want my husband to love me again. Pastor Hezra stretched out his hand and prayed over her, quoting Bible verses with authority. Then he pulled out a small piece of paper and scribbled down some Bible passages. Read this every morning after you wake up and at night before you sleep. Pray them out loud. You will begin to see changes. Benita nodded, holding onto the paper like it was a lifeline. As she got up to leave, he said nonchalantly, My daughter, sometimes the devil works hardest when you are not consistent. If for any reason you can't come every Sunday, feel free to come to my house. I do private counseling too. Benita was stunned for a second, surprised by his openness. But then she thought, anyway, he is a man of God. What's there to fear? All right, Pastor, I have heard you. Thank you so much, she replied softly. He also requested her phone number so he could check up on her. Without hesitation, she wrote down her number. That evening, Pastor Hezra called Benita. His voice was calm, reassuring. My daughter, how are you feeling after the prayers? Benita smiled faintly. I am better, Pastor. Thank you for caring. Sure I care, he replied. God has sent me to help you. You are like a daughter to me now. Don't hesitate to call me anytime you feel bothered. Pastor Hezra continued to call Benita daily. Sometimes he prayed with her over the phone. Other times he just listened as she complained about her husband, John. His attentiveness filled a void her husband had left empty for years. Soon, he began asking personal questions. How often does your husband touch you? Does he say hurtful things during intimacy? Do you feel loved as a woman? Initially, Benita was uncomfortable with the way Pastor intruded, but her situation made her vulnerable. She answered honestly, thinking he needed the details to guide her spiritually. Mabel, on the other hand, began to notice changes in Benita's behavior. One Sunday morning, when she went to pick Benita up for church, she was shocked when Benita told her, "Go ahead without me. I'll be just fine." Mabel frowned. "Benita, are you sure? But we started this together." Benita waved her off. "It's okay. The pastor said I can always come to his house during the week if I miss church service." That was so unusual, Mabel thought. "Haba, his house?" Mabel muttered. Though she kept her cool but remain observant. Meanwhile, Benita felt herself becoming more attached to Pastor Hezra. Each phone call felt like a burden lifted off her shoulders. Each visit like an escape from her imprisoned marriage. And though she didn't know it yet, the pastor's net had already closed around her. One morning, just as Benita was busy in her shop, her phone rang. She already knew who was calling. "Good afternoon, Pastor Hezra," she said softly, stepping outside to take the call. "My daughter," Pastor Hezra's voice boomed warmly. "How are you today? Tell me, has your husband's behavior changed since the prayers?" Benita sighed. "Not really, Pastor. He hardly talks to me. Sometimes he sleeps in the sitting room." The pastor said slowly. "Well, that confirms what I suspected. This is not ordinary. It is spiritual manipulation. We must go deeper if you truly want a breakthrough." Benita's heart pounded and confused. "What do you mean, Pastor?" "There is a special cleansing ritual I will do for you," he explained. "It will wash away every spirit of rejection, every cause of barrenness, and make you attractive again in your husband's eyes." She hesitated, like she didn't understand what she heard. "Cleansing ritual?" "Yes, my daughter, but it requires faith. You must come to my house in the evening when no one will distract us. Are you ready to do whatever it takes to save your marriage?" Benita closed her eyes. The thought of John looking at her with love again stirred her heart. "Yes, Pastor, I'm ready." That same day, around 4 p.m., Benita arrived at Pastor Hezra's compound. His children were playing outside earlier, but by now, the house was unusually quiet. His wife, Naomi, had gone to the market. "Welcome, my daughter," he said as he ushered her in. He was dressed casually in a simple white kaftan. On the table sat a bowl of herbs, a bucket of water, and a bottle of anointing oil. The air smelled of camphor and something else she couldn't place. "Sit," he instructed. She obeyed as if she were under a spell. "Now," he said gravely, "before this ritual, you must strip yourself of every impurity. Remove your clothes and tie this wrapper." He handed her a large white cloth. Benita's hands trembled. "Ah, Pastor," she exclaimed, "must I really?" "My daughter," he interrupted gently, "this is not ordinary work. Spiritual things require sacrifice. If you doubt, it will not work." She bit her lip, then nodded. Pastor directed her to the bathroom, where slowly she undressed and tied the wrapper tightly across her chest. Then she came out of the bathroom. Her heart pounded, shame mixed with desperation. Pastor Hezra led her into a room known as prayer room, well decorated with the best furniture and beddings. No one could ever believe that such a space existed in Pastor's house. So the ritual began. Pastor Hezra prayed loudly, chanting scriptures, then mixed the herbs into the bucket of water. He dipped a sponge inside, squeezed it, and began to sprinkle the water over her shoulders. Every curse is broken. Every evil mark is erased. Your womb is open. Your beauty is restored, he intoned. Benita closed her eyes. Clutching the wrapper, the water trickled down her skin, and though she felt uneasy, she told herself, "It's just prayer. It's for my marriage to be restored." But as minutes passed, the prayers grew softer, the touches slower, lingering longer than before. The sponge slid across her arms, her neck, her back. "Pastor," she whispered, her voice shaky. "Shh, my daughter, don't resist the Spirit. Let him cleanse you fully." Before she realized it, his hands had replaced the sponge. His touch was no longer that of a pastor, but of a man. As Pastor Hezra pulled her to him, she felt something as hard as a sledgehammer in between his thighs. The wrapper loosened. Her protest melted into silence, her body betraying her will. One moment of weakness turned into another, until the ritual dissolved into an act she never imagined she would commit. But what has Benita really gotten herself into? Was this cleansing ritual a blessing or a dangerous trap in disguise? What will happen when the secret affair begins to unfold? And who else will discover the truth? We'll find out in part 2. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly share your thoughts in the comments and tell me the lessons you picked. Share this story with your loved ones and don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to African True Life Tales by Ada and hit the bell so you won't miss part 2 and many more stories to come. And remember, every tale carries a lesson if only we choose to listen. Until the next part of this story, bye for now.